Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors podcast. The Greenway Outdoors is also an internationally syndicated TV show on Pursuit Channel and Wild TV. You are now tuned into our weekly podcast hosted by executive producer Kyle Green, production coordinator Jeff Hutchinson, director AJ Beadle, and creative producer Ryan Parks. We live in a world where our natural resources are almost solely protected by funds raised by hunters and fishermen, with over 60% of those funds coming from white males over the age of 55. The Greenway Outdoors team has set out on a mission to create content that would inspire millennials, Generation Z, and new sportsmen and women to get out, hunt, fish, and contribute towards conservation and the betterment of our planet. Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors. Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Greenway Outdoors podcast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jeff.
I'm AJ.
I'm Ryan.
And you are looking at us live on the NRM Streams app, and you're seeing me smile ear to ear because on the other line, and this will be the first time I ever get the opportunity to meet him, we have my very own, you might not have known this in the family tree, but Uncle Ted Nugent on the line. Uncle Ted, are you there?
Might be here full time, so we got Kyle, Jeff, AJ, and who else?
Ryan.
Well, greetings, my blood brothers. I smell backstraps. You guys are my tooth, fang, and claw, Michigan winter water wonderland, almighty spirit of the wild blood brothers. You young men deserve me.
Oh, I appreciate that more than you know. And you know what's funny, Uncle Ted? You got to remember Ryan's name because you actually happen to know his family. Ryan, why don't you tell him how he knows you?
So my grandfather used to own the mill in Hanover where you used to go get your feed for some of your animals.
Oh, sure, yeah, for many, many years ago, back when Lewis and Clark and I probably that's when we first discovered Michigan, yeah.
But yeah, Mr. Park said he remembered actually loading up the truck with your stuff, and actually...
The Zebra Bronco.
Yeah, the Zebra Bronco.
Well, now, he was lying to you because I load my own damn stuff. He may have been supervising it, and we probably talked all things great outdoors. But, gentlemen, I got to tell you, I just heard that introduction, and I can't tell you how much Uncle Ted, the Whackmaster, Reverend Theodosius Atrocious, the Motor City Madman, the sexiest guitar backstrapper in the history of the human spirit, how proud I am that you guys get it. The Greenway Outdoors and how you articulate this hands-on conservation lifestyle. I salute you on behalf of all the wonderful, ultimate asset column hunting, fishing, trapping, conservation, environmentalist, resource stewardship families of the great United States of America. So you gentlemen bring me great hope. So stay on course, never give up, never back down, never bend over, Rover, let Teddy take over, and never ever compromise. You really have it down. You guys, I suspect, were raised in a hunting family and a hunting environment. You've been doing it all your life. You sound like you've been doing it all your lives.
Well, we're lucky that we have excellent parents, and it's funny. I know you're gonna approve of my father right out of the gate because my very first bow came from your bow shop, and you signed it when I was 6 years old shooting in the backyard with my dad with a Ted Nugent signed bow. So if that isn't America, I don't know what is.
If that's not America, I don't know what is. And that really is something we should emphasize because what you guys are setting out to do here, and what I've dedicated my entire life to, is to educate and promote to people the important stewardship responsibilities of hands-on conservation. And if you really want a healthy environment, you're only going to get it from wildlife habitat, which the hunters, fishermen, and trappers of this country, we have safeguarded, we have regulated, we have paid for, just like you articulate. But boy, it's really been a powerful driving force in my life, as you have recognized, and I'm entering my 71st deer season in 2019.
So awesome.
I've had the greatest life in the world, and I attribute it so much to my parents disciplining me, teaching me about the hunter safety, aim small, miss small, safe gun handling, and the marksmanship. I call it the spirit of the wild because if you don't have spirit in your life, you're going to probably play country music and eat chicken. That's no good for anybody. So you guys really sound like you got it figured out. And I don't see a whole lot of young people. I see a number of young people across the country, and I'm talking young when I do fairs and outdoor events. I still tour every summer because they need my music.
That's right.
But I see it at the state fairs and the county fairs and the Mississippi River Days and the Rib Fest and these big outdoor family events where there's sometimes 30, 40, 50,000 people. There are an awful lot of little boys and girls. I'm talking, everything from infants right into preteens, teenagers, young adults who come out and they really relate to my attitude and my spirit. How could you not?
That's right.
And they love the songs that are about hunting. I Just Want to Go Hunting, the great Fred Bear song, Great White Buffalo Living in the Woods, Migration, Hibernation, Loaded for Bear, The Spirit of the Buffalo, Geronimo, Cochise, Crazy Horse and Me. These hunting outdoor lifestyle songs really do resonate with young people as long as it's delivered to them and promoted and celebrated with passion and enthusiasm, and they get it pretty quick. But if they're just coming out of the American anti-education system, they probably think we're heathens, and I'm constantly attacked for murdering innocent animals. Of course, all the animals I murder are absolutely guilty. I have the garlic and butter to prove it. But you guys are doing something that's really, really important, so thank you very much for that.
Well, I from the deepest dark, spots in our heart, I can't tell you, not darkest, but the brightest spots in our heart, from a very humble standpoint, I can't thank you enough, because you have to understand that you're a hero to us, and you've trailblazed and made a path that we're following closely behind you and doing the best we can to try and follow up and inspire the next generation to get out there. Uncle Ted, when we looked at all the outdoor television shows, and we said, we really want to create something that is the reality show style format, but we want to cover the conservation. We want to give them their Greenway Gear checklist, which is everything they need for the hunt. We want to show them how to do the hunting or fishing trip in a reality show style format. We want to include a Bible verse and a moral lesson that we gained while we were out in the field, showing them what it is and showing the kids that, hey, those guys on TV think it's cool to love God. And then at the very end of it, we've got a cooking studio here in Auburn Hills, Michigan, where we show them how to cook what they got in a professional, beautiful setting with some of the best recipes you've ever seen. And, we're cooking up everything from pythons from the Everglades to redfish out of the Louisiana to we're getting bear in West Virginia. We're eating raccoons out here in a professional cooking studio. You should see the way they look at us, though. The people from Trevorrow Inc., they look at us like we're crazy when we bring in raccoons and we cook them up. But I'll tell you, that was some of the best stir fry we ever had.
They're like, hey, it looks good.
That's really important that they see that the hunting, fishing, trapping lifestyle really is about reverence for God's creation. I know if you watch Spirit of the Wild, we've been a top-rated show on Outdoor Channel for
I think the top-rated show.
Well, I seem to be the only guy that really articulates that we are participating in God's creation. We are His humble servants. We have an absolute moral, intellectual, and I believe spiritual obligation to harvest the surplus every natural fall hunting season to make room for next year's fawns and cubs and calves and chicks and ducklings. And when I articulate that, because I have an awful lot of rock and rollers that come and watch my show, which are really important because they don't come from hunting families. But I get bombarded every day, especially with this social media, on Facebook especially, and in my travels, everywhere I go, from sushi bars to hardware store to feed mills to Whole Foods, and the pierced-nippled hippies come up to me. They talk to me about the purity of my lifestyle going back to my teenage years when I was with the Amboy Dukes, promoting hunting and fishing and trapping and Second Amendment rights, which was completely against the rules back then. It was just status quo obliteration, which I'm really good at. And they come up to me and they go, I saw your show where you killed that squirrel and you talked about, how delicious it is and that it eats nuts and buds and berries and the flesh is better than any domestic chicken you could ever buy. So you guys are right on course. I think we have to give a nod to another Michiganiac, Spirit Blood Brother, and that's Steve Ranella with his Meat Eater show.
Absolutely.
And then there's another great show from England, of all places. I remember when it was a Great Britain. Now it's just a Britain. And this guy's got a show called Farming for Wildlife, And
I'll have to check that one out.
It emphasizes the utility. Reverence for renewable resources is ultimately delivered with utility. So you're absolutely doing God's work there. So I am really impressed with what you guys are doing on Greenway Outdoors, and you stay right on course and keep doing it just like that.
Well, we appreciate it very much. And, your experience in the outdoor industry, it's kind of a weird place to navigate. We own, the people sitting at this table that you're talking to are the camera guys, we're the editors, we're the filmers, we're the everything. And we have taken production quality, in our humble opinion, which I know you like humble opinions too, is our production quality is second to none. We went out and set out to make the highest level production TV show that is in the outdoor industry. And when we've done that and trailblazed that, we've also found that the outdoor industry is an interesting breed in itself. It's very different than a lot of the other programs, because you do have a lot of independent producers. You've got a lot of different privately owned companies, big corporate companies, different networks, and you're kind of going through all those different parts. And I was wondering, as far as the outdoor industry goes, with what organizations you work with and which ones you represent, because I know you have your own big organization, how would you recommend that we go into the outdoor industry? How do we make our mark? How do we follow in the great footsteps that you've put in place for us? And what organizations you think would make a lot of sense for us to get involved with and give back and give publicity to?
Well, Kyle and guys, I think you're right on course. You talk about a quality delivery and a quality production. Now, you guys have state-of-the-art production. I don't. I basically wing it. We just push the record button. I've never done a take two in my life. Take two. And you see, when I start hunting, I don't do any of this, articulating what's about to happen. I just do it.
Yes.
I usually start my shows, I'm already in the tree because I can't wait to get there. I'm not going to slow down and talk to the camera on my way to a tree stand. It's like a horny kid with his first girlfriend every time I get out there. And so you guys are on the right track, but make sure you here's a couple key battle cries that you must keep in mind. Now, you want a quality production. You want to be able to deliver your message articulately, but articulate isn't as important as passionately believable. That's why when you see me talk on TV, I've never used a teleprompter in my life. I've never taken notes. Nobody's ever recommended a word I say, because I've had 70 deer seasons in my lifetime, and they've all been sacred connections with God's creation and how I participate in his tooth, fang, and claw nature. So the most important thing is you want to be reasonably groomed, which I'm not. You want to maybe review some of the key points you want to deliver, which I don't. But I end up delivering them anyhow because I live this stuff. The most important word you can ever maintain focus on is believability. You have to deliver this believable. I think what you see that Donald Trump learned from me is that you don't compromise. You don't candy coat. When Mitt Romney and John McCain were campaigning for the Republicans, I thought I tuned into Mr. Rogers with a Lawrence Welk soundtrack. I mean, it was so soulless and so scripted and so cautious. I mean, Mitt Romney brought a doily to a grenade fight. I'd like to bring an 8-10 warthog to a Scrabble match. My point being is that great production is important, but the key words you must remember is believable, raw, honest, and don't candy coat it. Do not wipe away the blood. What we do is life and death, not just for the dinner table, not just for balancing the herd, but life and death for the quality of air, soil, and water, which can only come from that ground that we harvest the surplus. And when we kill them and grill them, it makes room for next year's production instead of highway slaughter and agriculture deprivation. So don't get too groomed. Don't double check your hair, and don't double check the boogers coming out of your nose. If you got boogers coming out of your nose and you deliver a passionate, raw, honest, real nature message, that's way more important than somebody who's going, we need better light. Can we bring a light in here? Make that statement again. I think you fumbled on the third consonant. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of these guys are so cautious when they deliver the message that the message doesn't strike home. You watch the Bone Collectors, you watch Primos, you watch Fred and Michelle Eichler. There's so many great programs. I think Pat and Nicole do a great job. Ralph and Vicky do a great job. And I could go on and on. There's so many great articulate. The guys up in Canada, Canada in the Rough, those guys have a perfect balance between raw, passionate delivery and really eloquent articulation. My articulation, though, it's often eloquent. Mostly it's street believable.
Right.
I'm not afraid of blood. I'm not afraid of guts. I use the word harvest on occasion, but normally I use the honest word kill. We have to kill surplus deer and elk and moose and bears and cougars and ducks and geese. We have to, because the habitat does not expand every year, but the wildlife populations will. So, yeah, you guys are on track. I've seen a couple of your shows, and I'm really impressed. That's why I'm on the phone with you, because if I thought you were dirtbags, I wouldn't have called you.
That's awesome.
So you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What we do in nature as hunters and fishermen and trappers, it is so perfect. It is so pure. It is actually the perfect display of what God's creation involves. You must responsibly harvest the surplus and utilize it, which shows respect and reverence. So I think you guys are on course, and the fact that you're younger than I am. How old are you guys mostly, anyhow?
Well, Ryan, our creative producer, who you spoke to, he was just 19 a couple days ago, and now he's 20 years old.
Yep.
And then
that was a big shot.
And then
well, that's awesome. My drummer, Jason Hartless from Detroit, is only 23, so you have to be young to keep up with my ass.
That's right.
So you guys are on course, and that's why I'm on here with Greenway Outdoors, because it's a great name, because green is the catchword today about environmentally responsible, and you guys are way more environmentally responsible and beneficial than wind turbines or solar energy destructo derby. The amount of natural resources destroyed to create wind turbines and solar energy, when that truth finally surfaces beyond those of us who dug and got it already,
Sure.
what those so-called alternative energy corporations are doing is way worse to the environment than anything I can think of right now.
And it's scary because that knowledge isn't out there yet, and the only people you can listen to are the ones that are shouting it that aren't even in political positions, just activists like you. You know, I've got another question for you too, Uncle Ted. When I look at like the scenery and I look at everything that is in the outdoor industry right now, and I look at the biggest threats to it besides the wind turbines, is I say, you know, hunting and fishing licenses. I got a report from the Department of Natural Resources on their numbers from 2017 in Michigan, and the stats say that 60% of hunting and fishing licenses in Michigan were sold to white males over the age of 55. Now, when we got that information, we were already in our workhorse mode of creating this content to try and inspire the next generation. But that lit a fire under my butt like nothing before, because listen, I figure if 60% are 55 and older, not everybody is as healthy as you, can still jump over cars and shoot turkeys like no other. You know, those guys are not going to be buying those hunting and fishing licenses for, you know, maybe in 15, 20 years from now. It might drop off significantly. And same thing with the conservation organizations. I'm very close with the Easterbrooks, who you're very close with as well, with the Safari Club International. And I also, you know, we work with these different conservation organizations, but they're worried too, because they're seeing that trend of that big drop off of in 15 to 20 years. That age group won't be buying those hunting and fishing licenses anymore. What do you think, aside from just getting kids into hunting and fishing and things like that, that we could do to try and inspire others to fix that? And do you see that also as one of the biggest problems in the industry?
Well, that's the most important issue you could possibly bring up, is the engineered attrition in the conservation world. And let me explain what engineered attrition is. It breaks my heart, and I hate that I have to say this, but as a free American, especially one born and raised in the phenomenal hunting, fishing, trapping, outdoor recreation state of Michigan, it absolutely breaks my heart that I have to tell you, I'm afraid the Department of Natural Resources and the Natural Resource Commission are the number one enemy of the future of hunting. Maybe they don't. I'm sure they don't approach you at the mall. They don't approach you at the movie theater. They don't approach you at the sushi bar, at the feed mill. Every day of my life, gentlemen, every day, everywhere I go, everybody knows who I am and what I stand for.
Absolutely.
And when I go to Myers Thrifty Acres to maybe get stuff for the grandkids or whatever I might be doing, everywhere I go, every restaurant, every gas station, every barbecue, every ice cream place, I'm approached by hunting families who are shattered that they got a ticket and a fine for not having their bow case zipped up.
Oh, yeah.
Or they got a ticket and fine for not having their gun in a case driving on their own farm to their deer stand. Or they are shattered that you can hunt apples under the apple tree because it's pure natural occurrence. But if you move the apples closer to your tree stand, they call that baiting, and they give you a fine and scare you out of the sport. Just this week, gentlemen, I've had 3 different families come up to me at different locations. One was an ice cream place. One was of all places, a sushi bar. You wouldn't think there'd be a Ted Nugent backstrap or a sushi bar.
We're
but
everywhere.
We like yellowtail black backstraps.
That's right.
And they come up and they're happy to meet me, and we shake hands and we talk about killer rock and roll and getting ready for the hunting season. And then the demeanor changes, and I can see the sadness on their face. And I can't repeat exactly what they say, but they blanket. They go, the hell with DNR. I'm not even buying a license this year. I used to take my kids hunting every year, and we're not even going because of the stupid regulations that have nothing to do with wildlife science or safety. Michigan is destroyed by the most asinine anti-hunting laws, bow case laws. By the way, I single-handedly got rid of the obnoxious, stupid bow case law. Now you don't have to have your bow in a case when you're in your Polaris or your Rockstar or your pickup when you're going to your tree stand. But you still have to have your gun in a case if you're in a motorized vehicle in Michigan. The dove is the #1 game bird on planet Earth. It's not a songbird. Maybe you guys can show me a box of shotgun shells that has a picture of a cardinal on it. They don't put songbird pictures on shotgun shell boxes, but mourning dove pictures are on billions of shotgun shell boxes.
That's true.
The sandhill crane, which is dramatically overpopulated in the state of Michigan.
Yep.
Mark my words. Write this down. The farmers are shooting sandhill cranes left and right. Anybody with their head out of their ass knows that a sandhill crane is known as a ribeye in the sky.
The best eaten bird.
How immoral, how indecent, how dishonest and criminal and corrupt and power-abusing could a Department of Natural Resources be that know that you have to kill some sandhill cranes to save the agriculture, but the law states you're not allowed to eat this beautiful game bird known as a ribeye in the sky. That is unethical, that is immoral, and it's a direct directive from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Shame on them.
Absolutely.
And so you see that the hunters are dropping off because the DNR are running them out of the sport. Case closed. And I'll tell you, on Greenway Outdoors, my name is Ted Nugent, and Russ Mason, the director of Michigan DNR, and Chad Stewart, supposedly the whitetail specialist of the Michigan DNR, I dare you guys, debate me on Greenway Outdoors podcast and explain how an apple under an apple tree is natural, but if I move it closer to my tree stand, it causes chronic waste and disease. You're liars, and you're destroying the hunting heritage of Michigan. Shame on you.
I listened to you on the Joe Rogan podcast, and that's where I learned about the sandhill cranes. I just knew you couldn't hunt them here, but you could in other states.
But
and
they're overpopulated.
There's so many.
Open the damn season on them.
I know, and instead, but they allow them to kill them for crop damage, but then they're not allowed to eat them.
Why wouldn't you harvest them? It's a waste.
How immoral can you get?
Yeah, and on top of that, I also learned from you, too, I should have known this, but I guess I had never heard it articulated the way you did, was that the farmers take the combines and then kill every shrew, every snake, every hare, every animal that comes into there, into the field that would eat the, your beans and stuff for tofu, and you're literally killing all those animals, and that's completely acceptable and okay as a farmer because I have to protect the crops.
And I support it. I support it. But if you think you're saving an animal by eating a salad, you're crazy.
Exactly.
You're on acid.
And on top of that, but yet the sandhill crane, which is the animal of meat value, which would be tasty, they draw the line there. But you're allowed to kill, everything else that would be in your field with the combines, and that's why the birds and stuff follow the combines so that they can eat everything that was
that's why my Joe Rogan podcast, even today, holds the world record for the most listeners. I went 3.5 hours nonstop.
I listened to it 4 times.
Only when Joe got worn out, we stopped.
Yeah, I listened to it 4 times, so I
Well, a debate. I dare anybody to debate me. Who doesn't know that in order to save soybeans and corn and all the agriculture, who doesn't know why the crows and the seagulls and all the birds land behind the tractor? The birds are landing behind the tractor because the disc and the plow has dismembered and gutted and slaughtered every living creature that the plow has come into contact with, and the birds are picking up the dead animals. Every snake, every shrew, every vole, every gopher, every rabbit, every pheasant, every fawn, everything is slaughtered so somebody can have a vegan salad.
Right, and it has to be that way, but it's just uncomfortable for people to understand the truth. You know what I mean? It's insane. It is.
That's for the cult of denial. That's why the liberal Democrats are not in jail yet, because it's all lies. It's all about feel-good denial. And when you make a policy based on lies and dishonesty and feel-good denial, people get hurt. The environment gets hurt. I could trade in my bow and arrow for an A-10 warthog, and I couldn't kill as many birds of prey as the wind turbines do every year. And I'm all for alternative energy, but there has to be a balance. There has to be accountability. And the green maneuver, the green movement, is so dishonest. It's not green. It's not beneficial to the environment. If you want to benefit the environment, do like Ted Nugent does and plant thousands of trees every year since 1969. Hunt, fish, and trap, and balance wildlife, thereby bringing value to the environment and the habitat for the wildlife that produces air, soil, and water quality. It's unbelievable that the author of Wango Tango has to educate anybody about this simple biology and science, but that's what's going on. That's why our Spirit of the Wild show is so popular.
But that's, it comes through in your passion and the fact that you're actually, I liked one of your quotes. You said you didn't go to college because you were too busy learning shit. And when I hear stuff like that and I see all the research that you do and I see how, we look to you for answers on a lot of things. We look up to you for that. And because of that, there is a pretty good deal of spread between our ages, Ted, probably between 40 and 50 years between us. And you've lived now for 71 years, and you've seen all the changes that have come and the different environmental issues that have popped up. My question is, when I'm Ted Nugent in 40 years from now, I'll be almost as good looking, I think. My arms.
Good luck with that.
My arms might be a little bigger, but that's it, Uncle Ted.
You won't be able to grow the facial hair.
I'll never have the facial hair, though, so I can't do that. But in 40 years, when I'm Ted Nugent and I'm calling into some young guy's podcast, if we're still using phones then, my question is to you, what environmental issues will I probably be answering for them? What do you see as the big problem in the future 40 years from now when we're Ted Nugent and we're calling into some young kids' podcast?
Well, based on all my squawking and hell-raising and condemnation of dishonesty and corruption and political abuse, abuse of power by so many game agencies. There is a lot of bad and ugly, and I think we have a responsibility to spotlight cockroaches and spotlight bad and ugly, because we should dedicate ourselves to reducing and hopefully eliminating all the bad and the ugly that is out there, the anti-hunting, the anti-gun, the animal rights lie and the scam, the vicious criminal scam of the Humane Society of the United States. So there's a lot of bad and ugly, but let me fortify you guys about the good. You know, I talk about being stopped and people coming up to me everywhere I go, all around, not just in America, but over in Europe and over in Japan, and everywhere I go, people want to talk about guns and hunting and freedom and certainly killer rock and roll guitar tone and all the love songs that I've written. But they mostly want to talk about issues that have to do with quality of life. And I believe that the prognosis is hopeful. Everywhere I go, including what are considered to be blue states, liberal hellholes, you know, like California, which now San Francisco has become the feces and needle capital of the world. And these idiots want to do more of that around the country. The real people in California and Colorado and Michigan and Illinois and New York and New Jersey and Maryland and Massachusetts, all these states that have gone, you know, Democrat in the dishonesty, the cult of America hating denial, there really is a core of working hard, playing hard, conscientious, work ethic, shit-kicker families who want to do the right thing, who want to learn about hunting, fishing, and trapping, who are concerned about quality air, soil, and water, and how hunting, fishing, and trapping is the only system by which to ensure the future of quality air, soil, and water. So I have a funny feeling that we are on course. We have to defeat the Democrats in 2020. If we believe in God, family, country, conservation, and freedom, we have to vote Donald Trump in 2020. It really boils down to that. But you guys are doing what I've done my whole life, and that is I never defend hunting. I never defend the Second Amendment. It's absolutely unnecessary because both of those things are perfect. They're self-evident truths, and they are guaranteed in our instinct, in our heart and soul, in our intellect and spirit. I promote and celebrate these good things, and that's really what you guys represent. You're not defending squat. You're promoting and celebrating hands-on conservation. So I believe that my son Toby and my grandchildren, I got 14 grandkids, and boy, I've created an army of hellraisers. And I give all my grandkids a machine gun on their first birthday, and then I make them qualify. And so I think you're going to be talking about the same things, but the battle will always rage on. Because if you watch the Democrat debates, I think that's what they call them, there's no debate going on, they all just genuflect at the altar of hate and lies. If you really listen to the words they use, if you don't believe in America having secure borders, that's clearly the agenda of the enemy of America. If you believe you can kill children after they're born, you're on the side of the devil. If you want to guarantee income to people who are not willing to put forth effort, you are literally enslaving people and disincentivizing the battle cry that made America the destination for everybody in the world, and that is being the best that you can be. So I know you guys are promoting being clean and sober. That's the most important.
Yep.
I know you're promoting a higher level of awareness by getting in the great outdoors and utilizing those healing powers of nature and participating in God's tooth, fang, and claw creation. So you're going to keep doing what you're doing, but we've got to turn the heat up, and I hope that you continue to turn the heat up, because once again, if we don't elect Donald Trump, you saw what happened in Michigan. We have basically a Hillary Clinton as the governor of Michigan. We have a Hillary Clinton as the attorney general, and I'm afraid they're going to start swaying hunting regulations and gun regulations just like Hillary Clinton and all the enemies of freedom do across this country. So, boy, as Michiganiacs, we have our work cut out for us. So never, ever, ever back down or take a break for fighting for what you believe in. Because I believe, gentlemen, Kyle, Jeff, AJ, and Ryan, Greenway Outdoors represents the heart and soul of real Michigan families, real conservationists, real conservatives, and real freedom lovers, not just in the great state of Michigan, but all across this country. So I think you know what to do. I'm listening to the words that you use, but please join me on my Facebook. I'm doing all kinds of podcasts. Try to Google them and see what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't research anything. I live this life. I live it every day. I'm in the swamps every day. I'm planting trees all spring and summer. I'm putting in food plots every day. I'm working the land and making it better for a better quality of life every day. I fight the enemies of America every day. Then I snuggle with Happy Sadie and Coco and the Queen of the Forest, and I go to bed. And that's the bottom line. As an American, we have a duty to fight for the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Ten Commandments, the Golden Rule, and certainly the science of wildlife management. And that's what hunting, fishing, and trapping is all about. And the success rate we've had in bringing back the deer and the elk and the bear and the cougar and the geese and the turkey, more of which there are today than any time in recorded history. So continue to pound those facts and those self-evident truths home, and make sure that on every show, on every Greenway Outdoors show, and every Greenway Outdoors podcast, and every Greenway Outdoors promotion, that you emphasize these controversial elements that happen to be perfect. Hunting, fishing, and trapping is perfect environmentalism.
That was one heck of a classic Ted Nugent, correct, right on, dead on, perfect rant that I appreciate and love so very much. I can't even explain to you. You know, I consider myself a constitutionalist, and I consider freedom and America and this experiment of self-government the most important part of the United States of America. And I think when I look at this entire thing and I break it down in the way that I process thoughts is, you know, it is so important that the funding is there to promote conservation and protect conservation. And not only that, it's important that people aren't just putting their money in and walking away, but they're doing research and they're watching what's being done with the money so that we can hold those accountable, just like we're supposed to with any part of the government, from the DNR to the President of the United States. We're supposed to hold them accountable that they're using practical, smart thinking to make decisions. And it sounds like they've gone astray in a lot of different ways, and they need to be corrected. And the only way to correct it is for we the people to stand together to make those corrections. And I'm passionate about that beyond belief. Last week I went on a rant that you're going to love. I'm going to send it to you. You're going to watch it probably 2-3 times before you go to bed. I'm going to send it to you. And it was about the fact that as we move to a different network, we are likely to be rated a TV-14 show. And if you watch our show, and you have, when you talk about the Christian message, the perfect conservation message where it says, hey, you know, this is what we're doing for wild turkeys. This is how we're adding to the wild turkey population. This is what we're doing to keep those going. And this is how we're harvesting them. And this is the perfect balance that we've put in place. And that's why we're hunting these turkeys. And here's the gear you need. And here's the actual reality hunt and the way that it actually happens, the real thing. We got Jeff here, so you know we're going to have a bunch of laughs. We've got the hardest working, best team on the planet filming it. Hungry, young guys that are out there that all share the same goal and the same message. We show you a moral lesson on top of that. We show you how to cook it. We're showing you the perfect balance, that it's perfect. You can't combat it. You can't look at it. You can't break it apart and say that's immoral. You can't do it because you'll know in your heart and soul that you're a liar. And I'll tell you, we found that we actually get more criticism from people inside the industry. You know, you shoot a 6-point buck and you post it online and you get attacked for it from people in the industry. Them saying, what are you doing shooting a 6-point? That's a baby and blah, 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 you know, and the jokes of that.
Isn't that a shame?
But
I'll
tell you, we don't really get it from the outside because I think we're so perfect, Ted. They're scared to.
Well, you know, the left and the animal rights people, they never confront me. They're scared to death of me. Because they know they can't debate me because I'll eat their family tree and spit sawdust in their face. I mean, I've got nothing but truth, logic, common sense, science, evidence, history, and undeniable data on my side regarding everything I believe in, everything I promote, everything I celebrate, and I drive the liberals and the leftists and the Democrats and the animal rights liars and scammers, I drive them berserk. You know when Nancy Pelosi talks, it looks like she's in a wind tunnel being G-forced to death?
I've seen
That's actually the Ted Nugent effect on her face. The bottom line is we are free Americans, and my Ted Nugent Camp for Kids, for example, it's a nonprofit charity for 30 years, graduating thousands and thousands of children across this country from 7 to 17. What a beautiful charity, teaching kids about hunter safety and being clean and sober, and the mystical flight of the arrow and the samurai zen being the path of your life and the path of the best things in the world you can teach children. And you've never heard the Ted Nugent Camp for Kids mentioned ever in a sporting publication. What could be more important for the future of our hunting than a guy with a household name, a celebrity that sold 40 million albums, that's on the media all the time promoting the best things about America? Why wouldn't Sports Afield or Outdoor Life or Field and Stream, even the NRA magazine, why wouldn't Bowhunter magazine, why wouldn't these different shooting and outdoor publications, why wouldn't they celebrate a charity about recruiting young people into the outdoor lifestyle? So the worst enemies to the future of hunting is not PETA, it's not the Humane Society of the United States, even though they're both corrupt, criminal, lying, hateful scammers. The worst curse for the future of hunting are people like the Michigan DNR, the Wisconsin DNR, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the past. It's getting better now under Donald Trump. But it's our own sport who will make fun of a guy for celebrating a beautiful year-and-a-half-old 6-point buck that you busted your ass and disciplined yourself and dedicated yourself to make a good, clean kill. That's literally attacking perfection. So, gentlemen, do not be deterred. When you even think that somebody is attacking you, just go, what would Uncle Ted do? and light that middle finger on fire and stand up for what you believe in, because what we're doing is literally on a mission from God.
I think I'm going to get a new bracelet that says, what would Uncle Ted do? I like, and it's true, though. Like I said, I think that they're scared of me, too, and they're just happy to say, hey, just ignore us and try and act like it's not there. My question to you is, Ted, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I don't know if that's really possible, but I'm going to do my very best to do it. Here's what I'd like to do. At your next big event for your charity, you're going to have the four of us out, and we're going to put together the best video you've ever seen, and I'm going to pound it down the media's throats until someone picks it up and does it, and I'm going to make damn sure that someone does, and we're going to pump that video out. It's going to be the best video, highest quality you've ever seen. We're going to have drones out there, the whole 9 yards, and we're going to make that video, and we're going to pound it down their throats, and we're going to push the word out, because you just need a few young whippersnappers to get on it and get going. So do we have a full invite from you, Uncle Ted?
Make some national news.
It sounds perfect, man. Our next Ted Nugent Camp for Kids, we've already had the Iowa and the Nebraska Ted Nugent Camp for Kids. We're coming up, I think in October, there will be one in Yankton, South Dakota at the National Field Archery Headquarters, along with the Friends of the NRA banquet. I'll let you guys know. Linda can keep you posted.
I will be there.
The Colorado Ted Nugent Camp for Kids charity happens, I believe, July 19th up there near Loveland, Colorado. But let's keep in touch, because I bet you guys do a great job. Plus, I think you would pose questions to some of the campers and some of the children's parents that are very, very pertinent, very, very important that you could celebrate on Greenway Outdoors. But that's the kind of stuff. And I'll be touring like an enraged, mad guitar dog for July and August. But when I get back in September, why don't you bring those Greenway Outdoor cameras and document just how good looking I am in 2019.
We're gonna make sure we get all your best sides too,
and
right?
We'll get a campfire going, and we'll roast some squirrel fricassee as I put an arrow in the bushy tail.
I've got one more question for you before you go, and you can bet that we will be there, and we'll also be there August 31st when you're at DTE. And I'd like to hear one more question for you. So I would consider you the expert on this. You went out and got the Queen of the Forest, probably the best choice of any wife anyone could ever want in the entire planet Earth.
Hello!
So for four young single guys, we got to ask you, Uncle Ted, how do we go out? We're actually, and this has never happened, and leave it to us to be the trailblazers, okay? This has never happened in a Ted Nugent interview, I'll guarantee you, but we're going to ask you, Uncle Ted, give us some dating advice. How do we go out and find the perfect female like you did?
The only way is to be clean and sober.
We are.
Stand up for what you believe in.
Got it.
Have reasonable hygiene.
We do our best. Jeff's out.
No stinky tobacco stink.
Yep.
And most important, guys, no aftershave, no perfume, no scented anything. Women don't like men that smell like a French whore.
And if that isn't the best advice, I don't know what it is. Uncle Ted.
Of course, it's important too. I mean, be sure you have your concealed weapons permit.
You got to be able to protect them.
You pursue that discreetly so that you are a real man. You always have a clean handkerchief on you. You should always have a pocket knife and a belt knife and a belt tool. You should always have good identification on you. You should always have a pen so you don't go, anybody got a pen? you should always have a few Band-Aids in your wallet. Always have your wallet on you. Always have your phone completely charged. Going to sleep at night is when you charge your phone. Little things like that. Just the way you carry yourself. I mean, of course, I cheated because everybody around me was drooling, puking, stumbling, dirtbag, stoned hippies, so I really looked good. So when I met Shemaine, she had mentioned that she had never met a guy that didn't smoke or drink or take drugs, one or the other. And I'm not condemning somebody who's, I guess
you kind of are, and that's okay.
2019.
That's okay.
I mean, who doesn't know that smoking is just suicidal idiocy? And my sons and daughters and all my friends, they like a good beer at the dinner table around the campfire. I have no problem with beer and wine or a sundowner. It's the abuse of that alcohol that is so deadly on our fellow man.
Absolutely.
So a woman looks for a man who takes good care of himself, and I think everybody really, really respects a man who stands tall. Another missing link nowadays, I'm going to mention it, posture. Do you stand up straight? Do you walk with a purpose? Are you polite? Do you open doors for people? Do you help people with their groceries? Do you wave someone into your parking spot instead of hurrying up and taking it yourself? Be conscientious, be giving, be loving, be attentive. Use that higher level of awareness that is the bow hunting radar in your everyday life, and people will notice that you're better. You don't want to be equal. You want to be excellent. You want to carry yourself with dignity and pride and confidence and authority, and you be giving and considerate to other people. And I'm to tell you, the prettiest, sexiest, most positive and intelligent women in the world will notice that immediately, and you might get your own Queen of the Forest someday.
And you heard it here first from Ted Nugent on the Green Outdoors podcast. Uncle Ted, tell everyone about your upcoming tour, too. I want to make sure we promote that because everyone needs a little bit of Uncle Ted concert in their life.
Well, when I get on stage in Pasadena, California on July 19th, that'll be my 6,720th concert. It will be the best concert of my life. I got Jason Hartless from Detroit, a 23-year-old drumming animal, groove monster. Greg Smith, the world's greatest bass player. We have to grease him, freeze him. If I wasn't in this band, I'd go see him every night. The music we play, the songs that we play, the audiences that show up every night, the tone of our instruments, the delivery, the passion, the fire, the spirit, the outrageous intensity of our concerts is off the damn Richter scale. And this is going to be the greatest tour of my life because I look ahead to September when the dove season opens and when the teal season opens and when the fishing is great and when the squirrel season opens and the grouse and the woodcock, and I wish I'd get a bear permit where the bear are overpopulated in Lake County. I've been trying to get a permit for 16 years and they won't give me one, but the nuisance complaints are at an all-time high. See how I get a little politics in there?
You just snuck it in.
That's why my tour is so intense, because I know that I'm coming home to the spirit of the wild freedom in the great state of Michigan, and I'm going to have the best tour of my life. I'll tour all of July and August, and I'll wrap it up at the Pine Knob Fire-Breathing Concert in Detroit, north of Detroit, on August 31st, and that'll be the 65th year in a row that I've played my music in Detroit, and I can't wait. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Gentlemen, thank you for keeping this tradition and this great outdoor heritage alive. Thank you, everybody that comes to my Facebook. What a great, great positive firefight of goodwill and decency and truth, logic, and common sense on my Facebook. I hope the Greenway Outdoors guys come to my Facebook every day. You will learn more about great hunting family traditions on my Facebook than you will at Safari Club International or all the others. And gentlemen, God bless all the hunting organizations. Many of them are great, but none of them have accomplished what needs to accomplish. We have an organization called HunterNation.org. HunterNation.org. We are going to make sure that God, family, country, conservation, and freedom that aligns themselves with the hunting, fishing, and trapping families of this great nation are voted into office representing us accurately and adamantly. HunterNation.org. It's the most important hunting rights organization that has ever existed. And I could go into detail in our next Ted Nugent Greenway Outdoors interview. We'll talk about the failures of all these other organizations that have not addressed the insane, counterproductive anti-hunting regulations that are chasing hunting families away from the sport. And it's got to be turned around, and I know we can do it.
Well, I want to tell you from like the bottom of our hearts, all fun and excitement and everything aside, you are a leader in this industry, and you're someone we've looked up to for a very long time. It means the absolute world to us that you're on the podcast with us. I know you don't take very many interviews, and I know you only do it with people you find important, and for that, I can't thank you enough. Ted Nugent, everybody. Thank you, Uncle Ted. We'll be talking to you soon.
You got it. Well, you know, when you have Uncle Ted on the Greenway Outdoors podcast, it actually becomes the Ted Nugent Greenway Outdoors podcast.
And I hear that one's got better ratings, too.
All right, guys. Godspeed. Backstrap like you mean it. Get a lot of slabbage out of the wonderful waters of Michigan and promote and celebrate what you do in the great outdoors, and get people to join us at HunterNation.org, and I'll start promoting Greenway Outdoors because you guys are my blood brothers.
Thank you, Uncle Ted.
Thanks,
We
Ted.
love you.
Thank you so much.
Godspeed. Aim small, miss small. Whack 'em and stack 'em. Kill 'em and grill 'em.
We will. How awesome is that?
That was awesome.
I mean, I was actually a little nervous. You know what I mean? It's hard not to be nervous because it's like,
Yeah.
he's not in the room, but now I locked him down, though. I got him. We're going to be in the same.
Yeah.
How
You
cool
did
is
lock
that?
him down.
I was
You
like,
did.
I was like, what's he going to say here? He goes, no.
yeah, we put him on the spot. He says no. No, yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, hearing him my whole life, driving up north, going up north on our way to the cabin every year in the summer. My
Listening
dad,
to him,
we'd
yeah.
be listening to Ted Nugent, and that's what you'd be listening to, and, get my first bow signed by him, and it's just,
Anyone our age, Kyle and Jeff, when we went anywhere,
Not
our
right.
dads
listen to it,
jammed it.
especially.
I think it's a Michigan thing specific. It's just something that just happens,
And the other thing is, too, we don't know what we don't know because we're young, right? So
Yeah.
we're all about, I mean, you
I just turned 20.
I mean, you're just a teenager the other
Yeah.
day. I mean, so someone who cares this much, you're not going to find anyone that cares more.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and he brings up points that otherwise we might not even know
Yeah.
about.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I was just,
he's a good figure to have in our lives, and what he believes in is what he stands for, and he pursues what's right.
right. I mean, and how lucky are we that he'd even take the interview with us? You know what I mean?
I was talking to my dad the other day because my dad, they had met each other multiple times. They had known each other. I don't know if Ted remembers,
right.
But
Sounded like he did.
my dad remembers him quite well. And towards the end of our conversation with Ted today, you asked him about getting a woman.
Yeah.
And he brought up just being.
You got Shemaine. You got to ask.
Yeah. He brought up just being a genuinely good person, treating people right.
Right.
And I think some people, maybe because of who he is, they might forget about that he's an actual person too.
That's
but
it.
he gets it, and he treats people right. And my dad said the other day, whenever he came around to the mill to buy his feed, he would talk to my grandfather about farm things. And, I mean, didn't really talk about being a rock star. He was a rock star. He wouldn't talk about that. He'd be talking about, oh, what feed should I get? How should I do this? How should I do that? Oh, you do it like that? I do it like this. Hunting, all that stuff. Just a normal guy, and he was very respectful to everybody. But my dad didn't. The first time he came in, my dad didn't necessarily know who he was. He
Sure.
heard his music a lot, but he didn't.
He's a kid, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't recognize him. He just thought it was some guy coming in, and he said he was respectful, but in a weird way, he stood out.
You could tell that he stood out.
There was just something different about him, and it wasn't anything in particular. You couldn't pin it to something.
Right.
He was just different, and you knew it.
Right. And the other thing is a lot of people, well, if you look at the Electoral College map, so 50% of the people, or 49 or 48 or whatever, don't agree with him. Mm-hmm. And the world we live in is all clickbaits and sounds and cuts and this and that, so you only hear the super passionate things that these people might not agree with. But when he asked him about the girl, and I didn't ask the question because of that, I thought it would be real funny, but he went into who he really is as far as like, stand up straight, shake. And when I spoke at my old high school, I gave a speech to the kids, and that's what I talked about: posture, sitting up straight, shaking someone's hand, looking them in the eyes when you talk, opening doors. I've never seen my mom open her own car door, because that's the household that I come from. That's my dad. So to see, I'm glad I asked that question for him to have the opportunity for hopefully the people out there that don't really know who Ted is to get to hear that part, because to me that was the best part of the interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That'd be a great soundbite.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be a clip for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll put that in. It'll be like, what's it like to ask Ted for female advice? And I knew no one had ever asked that before.
That's true. I don't know if I have never heard of someone asking him that before.
Uncle Ted's
and
top Tinder notes.
It was great advice. It was just spot on.
So we actually had I did a social media post to switch the gears a little bit. Social media post I did while I was up north. I was in Kalkaska chasing brook trout, and man, did I catch some good ones. I caught some great brook trout while I was up north. And this one in the water here, and you can actually see the fish itself is just gorgeous, the spots on it. And I was talking about the fact that when you look at that fish, you never ever see, but when you take them out of the water, they lose their color almost completely.
Yeah.
After they die.
I remember that last year when we went.
Right. So they
They
lose.
get like a gray within a matter of minutes.
But this guy actually commented, and it's Don Vidassi, I believe his name is. It says, "A taxidermist taught me a trick to retain the color of your fish. Carry a small Ziploc bag of borax powdered soap." So we'll tell Ted to add that. He said the Band-Aids in the wallet, make sure your phone's charged, and also
A bag of borax soap.
borax soap
50-year product.
in your tackle box, and immediately throw the fish into the bag, coating the whole fish. The soap is all natural and preservative free, and essentially what he's saying is it won't keep it perfect, but it'll retain a lot of the colors so that when your taxidermist is actually painting your mount, he can make sure that it's true to the color, and obviously getting
that's cool.
But pictures before you even take them out of the water, which you see my lure still in this one's mouth, and that wasn't even a keeper. But I just the color of them is just so gorgeous.
Is that in the water? Or is that just
That's
a little bit out?
in the water. No, that's a straight up cell phone picture too. I almost dropped it in after that. You can believe it, but
I believe it.
But 12 phone is lost this year.
Hey, when you fish and hunt as much as we do, we go through phones like crazy. But yeah, that he was still he's not even above the water, AJ. Believe it or not. That's how clean the waters are in northern Michigan. I mean, the crystal clear water, and man, are they tasty. I got a whole bunch of them bone in, ready to go and hit the grill.
You guys did well.
So I wanted to thank Don, though, because that was a comment of excellent value. And I actually will do that, and I'm going to try, and I want to see what it works.
It makes sense because I think borax is part of the taxidermy process, so you're just kind of starting it early.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did not know that. Speaking of which, how pumped are you guys? We're getting my bear head from West Virginia.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
getting your
That's coming up,
turkey.
right?
My first turkey.
Your first turkey
Yeah.
ever in the strut mount. You're getting your turkey, probably the biggest one shot in Michigan this year. People can say what that was.
Take a picture of me riding it.
Jeff shot at, no kidding.
Yeah.
The guy shoots at least
We'll
a 4.5
impose him.
year old deer. The thing had over 1.5 inch spurs. I mean, the spurs
This
are
thing
IUCA.
was-
10-inch beard. He could barely carry the thing. It was funny. He shot a nice time. Ryan shot a nice time. We lay it next to it. It looked like a little tyke compared to
The way I could tell was I went to pick it up, and it was the third turkey I've gotten now. I pick it up, and I went, I don't remember him being this heavy.
I was laughing because I was with. Who was I sitting with? I was sitting with you that hunt when Jeffrey shot his.
Yes.
I was sitting with you, and I come back to the truck. I go, it's taking up the whole tailgate.
Yeah, because you guys were already back at Ray's, and then we came and we're like looking at it like, whoa, what? And you guys were like, whatever about it. But
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Unbeknownst.
I'm like, Jeff doesn't
without
know.
somebody to compare, it's unreal.
Well, it was. So, anyways, those mounts are almost done, and your wood duck mount's going to be done, and your grouse mount's going to be done, and the giant timber doodle.
Props.
So we have so many cool mounts coming. I'm so pumped about it, and I'm so pumped about this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Green Bay Outdoors podcast. Visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and obviously our YouTube page. We'd love to hear from you on episodes you'd like to see. Excited to have Uncle Ted on again. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay green.